Which side would Daredevil be on in the Avengers Civil War? Well, both sides could use a really good lawyer. Well, first of all, let's talk about why exactly Daredevil would even fight in the war. I mean, he's not an Avenger. Almost all the characters involved in the Civil War are either Avengers themselves or are closely tied to one of them. Other than that, there are some characters who have their own personal reasons to be involved, but Matt Murdock's got none of those. Considering this, any involvement of his would be based around the Sokovia Accords themselves. Now, the movie focuses mostly on the conflict around Bucky and doesn't go into details about the Accords. But we know that the Accords would have forced metahumans and Inhumans to reveal their identities. Well, this wouldn't be a problem for Matt since he's a human in the first place, not to mention he keeps his identity a secret.
Book is ripe for the taking.
If we do this, nobody dies. Do you understand?
But that's exactly why he would realize how dangerous the Accords could be for superhumans, since their identities would be revealed to the government. Now, many people insist Matt would be Team Iron Man because he's a lawyer and would support the lawful way of doing things. But let's not forget this is the same guy who acts as a vigilante at night. Matt knows that not everything can be solved with the law, and that's why he decided to take matters into his own hands. Considering the character's personality and actions as a vigilante, it's safe to assume that he'd be anti-Accords. Well, you know what that means. Yep, Daredevil would be on Captain America's side in the Civil War. In fact, this has basically been confirmed when he appeared in the MCU's She-Hulk Attorney-at-Law series. On the show, they introduced Matt during his day job as a lawyer. He was representing Luke Jacobson, a superhero costume designer who was being sued for allegedly making a faulty suit. Well, Luke had already made suits for a number of heroes, including Daredevil and She-Hulk, and Jennifer Walters wanted a list of his clients to cross-reference if anyone else had gotten from faulty suits. Well, she doesn't get the list because Matt decides to step in and convinces the judge otherwise. His reasoning? Well, the Sokovia Accords had been repealed, and this allowed the superheroes to keep their anonymity and other freedoms. This makes it clear that Matt believes that every hero has the right to keep his identity secret for the sake of protecting themselves and their loved ones. Superheroes' right to choose and their personal freedoms were exactly what Captain America's side fought for in the Civil War. If given the opportunity, Captain America would probably recruit Daredevil, and considering his values, Matt would probably oblige his request. Well, you can't deny that having a character like Daredevil, someone who saves people both within and outside the bounds of the law, would have made things interesting in Civil War. I mean, we could have even had a superhero battle between two of New York's masked vigilantes. In fact, in the comics, Spider-Man and Daredevil did fight on opposing sides. In the movie, the unmasking of superheroes was never such a big crisis since most of the Avengers already had their identities public. If there was anyone who had a secret identity, it was Peter Parker, but he fought on Tony Stark's side. Now, if Matt was in the war and on Steve Rogers' side, then that would have allowed the film to focus more on the controversy. Considering the fact that superheroes would have to register with the government. In the comics, when Spider-Man took Tony Stark's side, he revealed his identity to be Peter Parker in front of the whole world. Well, if Daredevil and Spider-Man had ended up fighting each other, then it certainly would have changed the way the new Spider-Man movies met. After all, Matt met Peter Parker when he worked as his lawyer after Mysterio leaked Peter's identity to the world. During this time, Peter personally felt the ramifications of having his identity revealed and how it took a toll on the people close to him. At the end of the day, we never really got to see Daredevil in the Civil War or any sort of confrontation between him and Spidey. Much to fans' disappointment, he had no role in the movie. There really wasn't much that connected Marvel's Netflix series to the MCU movies. At most, there were a bunch of short references. Daredevil's first season was released just a year before the Civil War, so many fans expected him to have a cameo. When that didn't happen, they demanded an explanation. Jeff Loeb revealed that movies are planned out years in advance and said that television moved at an incredible speed. Well, his reason does make sense. Apparently, there were a number of scheduling and production reasons that stopped Daredevil from appearing in Civil War. In fact, Marcus and McFeely even gave a surprising reason as to why Tony never contacted Daredevil. According to them, Tony didn't have a television, so he didn't even know that the Devil of Hell's Kitchen existed. Well, after Daredevil was a no-show in Civil War, fans had hoped that they'd get to see him in Infinity War or Endgame, but their wishes were never answered. Now that even the Netflix show has been canceled, they had nearly started to lose hope that they'd ever get to see Matt in the MCU. That is, until he surprised everyone by appearing in She-Hulk and essentially confirming his return to our screens. Soon after, Disney announced the good news. Matt Murdock will be returning to the MCU with his own series once again in Daredevil Born Again. Well, good news, Charlie Cox will be reprising his role as Matt Murdock, and he's not the only actor who'll be returning. Vincent D'Onofrio will also be coming back as Wilson Fisk, aka the Kingpin, who was the main antagonist in 2 of the Netflix Daredevil series seasons. First things first, fans mustn't confuse this new show with a 4th season of the previous series. It's not a continuation, rather, it's a reboot. I mean, it's all in the name, really. It literally says Born Again. But just because it's a reboot doesn't mean we can't enjoy it. In fact, Vincent himself took to Twitter to tell fans that the new show would be very, very cool and very different. Well, Vincent says that the showmakers want to surprise everyone with the new show. Let's all just hope that it's a pleasant surprise. After all, we wouldn't want the show that we finally got after years of waiting to turn out to be a disappointment. It's important that fans understand that this show will be quite different from the Netflix series. In fact, according to rumors, Deborah Ann Wool won't be coming back to play Karen Page. That's not all. Christopher Brewster, Charlie Cox's stuntman in the Netflix Daredevil series, also won't be returning. He revealed that Marvel wasn't even willing to let him interview for the job. Sheesh, after that? Born Again's action scenes better be up to par. The original series did set a high standard after all. At least from what we've seen in She-Hulk, the new series is aiming to bring the fight scenes to a new level by incorporating CGI into it. Charlie welcomes this change to emphasize Daredevil's gymnastic qualities, but he highlighted that he only wants it to be used sparingly. Well, this is all for how it was revealed which side Daredevil would be on in Civil War and how he'll finally be returning to the MCU. See you guys in the next one.